First contact in the silent woods. Commander Vex adjusted his sensory membrane, recalibrating it for Earth's atmospheric conditions. The air here felt dense, rich with organic particles that clouded his species' naturally exceptional perception. Behind him, Lieutenant Naira and Science Officer Krell were making similar adjustments to their equipment. I still fail to understand why we're participating in this exercise, Krell said, his voice vibrating at a frequency that conveyed clear disdain. The humans know our species possesses unparalleled stealth technology. What do they hope to gain by demonstrating their primitive techniques? Vex's translucent skin rippled with subtle bioluminescent patterns, the Sylphian equivalent of a contemplative sigh. Diplomatic relations require such exchanges. Besides, High Command is curious about human military training. Their species has survived remarkably well despite their technological disadvantages. The Sylphians had made first contact with Earth only 3 standard cycles ago. Despite humanity's relatively primitive spacefaring capability, they had proven themselves surprisingly resourceful allies against the Drazeri expansion. This military exchange program was meant to strengthen ties between the two species, though many in the Sylphian fleet considered it an unnecessary formality. A human approached, Captain Elena Martinez, their liaison officer. Her movements seemed loud and clumsy to Sylphian senses that could detect the slightest disturbance in air currents. Commander Vex, I trust your journey to our Montana training grounds was comfortable. Her translator picked up his subsonic response perfectly. Adequate, Captain. Though I remain skeptical about the value of today's demonstration. Martinez smiled. A human expression Vex had learned indicated either amusement or diplomatic restraint. I understand your skepticism, Commander. Your species' cloaking technology is legendary. But humans have been perfecting the art of hiding in plain sight for thousands of years before we developed any technology. I think you'll be surprised. Vex doubted that. Sylphians could detect heat signatures through solid walls, perceive ultraviolet and infrared light naturally, and sense minute vibrations through both air and ground. Their bodies could even adapt chameleon-like camouflage at will. Hiding from a Sylphian was considered impossible by most galactic standards. The exercise will begin in 30 minutes, Martinez continued. Major Harper will guide you through the observation area. Your challenge is simple. Identify the positions of our hidden soldiers. How many operatives are participating? Lieutenant Naira asked. 20 of our best. They've had 24 hours to prepare their positions within the 5 square kilometer zone. Krell made a dismissive gesture with his upper appendages. And they have no technological assistance. No heat dampeners or sonic scramblers. None, Martinez confirmed. Just training, ingenuity, and whatever materials they can find in the natural environment. Vex's skin flashed with patterns that the translator didn't bother converting. They were merely expressions of incredulity. He believed the humans were setting themselves up for embarrassment. Major Harper turned out to be a weathered human male with skin darkened by prolonged exposure to solar radiation. His muscular frame moved with surprising grace for a species that typically announced their presence with heavy footfalls and labored breathing. Welcome to Earth's Special Forces Wilderness Training Ground, Harper greeted them. Today, you'll be observing our Ghost Protocol exercise. The rules are simple. You'll attempt to locate our hidden personnel using any natural abilities or technology your species possesses. Our soldiers will remain perfectly still and silent unless I give the command to reveal themselves. And what would constitute a successful demonstration from your perspective, Major? Vex asked. Harper's lips curled upward. If you find more than 5 of my 20 operatives in the next 3 hours, I'll consider your species' detection capabilities impressive. The arrogance of the statement sent ripples of indignation through Vex's skin. Find only 5. A properly trained Sylphian child could locate 20 humans in an enclosed space within minutes. Shall we begin? Harper asked, gesturing toward the dense forest beyond. The terrain was challenging, thick coniferous trees, abundant undergrowth, and elevation changes that created natural shadows and hideaways. Still, Vex activated his full sensory capabilities as they entered the designated area, confident in quick success. An hour later, that confidence had evaporated like morning dew. Despite utilizing their most sensitive detection methods, the Sylphian team had located precisely 0 humans. "This is impossible," Krell muttered, his skin pulsing with frustrated patterns. "Perhaps they've misrepresented the parameters of the exercise. These humans must be using technology." Vex was beginning to wonder the same. They had covered nearly a quarter of the designated area, using a methodical search pattern. His thermal imaging had detected various wildlife. Birds, small mammals, even a large predator he'd identified as a mountain lion, but no human heat signatures. "Major Harper," Vex finally said, "I must question whether your operatives are actually present in this area." Harper's expression remained neutral. "They're here, Commander. All 20 confirmed their positions before we began." "Then they must have some form of technological assistance. Humans cannot simply mask their thermal signatures." "Would you like a hint?" Harper offered. Vex's skin flashed with embarrassment at needing help, but he nodded. "You've passed within 5 meters of 3 different operatives in the last 20 minutes, Harper said calmly. The Sylphians exchanged glances of disbelief. Naira immediately rescanned the surrounding area, focusing on every possible hiding place. "There," she suddenly said, pointing to what appeared to be a moss-covered log approximately 4 meters to their left. "I'm detecting an extremely faint rhythmic disturbance in the air, possibly respiration." Harper walked to the log and gently tapped it twice with his boot. "Specialist Reynolds, reveal yourself." To the Sylphians' amazement, a section of the log moved. What they had perceived as moss and bark was actually a human female, completely covered in materials that matched the forest floor. She rose slowly, and Vex could now detect her heat signature, though it was remarkably diffused. "How?" Krell demanded, his scientific curiosity overriding diplomatic protocol. Reynolds looked to Harper, who nodded permission. "Multiple layers, sir," she explained. "Base layer of mud to mask immediate heat signature, followed by natural insulating materials, moss, leaves, bark, arranged to create air pockets that disperse remaining heat. Controlled breathing techniques reduce respiratory signature. Positioning exploits natural terrain features to break up human outline." Vex moved closer, examining the now visible human with newfound respect. "But our thermal imaging should have detected you regardless." "Your thermal imaging looks for concentrated heat sources," Harper explained. "Reynolds' technique distributes her body heat so gradually that it blends with ambient forest temperatures. The human body is remarkably adaptable." "Impressive," Vex admitted reluctantly. "But surely this is an exceptional case." "Let's continue," Harper suggested. Over the next hour, the Sylphians located 2 more operatives, one suspended among tree branches, camouflaged as part of the canopy, and another partially submerged in a small stream, using a hollow reed for breathing that released air bubbles that exactly mimicked natural water movement. What astounded Vex wasn't just the camouflage techniques, but the physical discipline these humans demonstrated. The soldier in the tree had remained perfectly motionless for hours, his muscles showing no fatigue tremors. The water-submerged operative had maintained his position despite the frigid temperature, controlling his body's instinctive shivering response. "Your soldiers show remarkable physical control," Vex observed. "Humans can train their bodies to override many automatic responses," Harper explained. "With practice, we can control heart rate, breathing, even blood flow to different parts of the body." Naira, who had been scanning a nearby rock formation, suddenly froze. "Major, there's something unusual about that cliff face." Harper smiled. "Very good, Lieutenant. Sergeant Diaz, reveal yourself." A section of the granite cliff face moved, and a human male emerged, his body covered entirely in a paste that exactly matched the rock's mineral composition and texture. "4," Harper noted. "You're getting better at this." Vex's frustration had transformed into genuine curiosity. These techniques seem primitive, yet undeniably effective. Sometimes the oldest solutions are the best, Harper replied. Technology can fail. Batteries die. Circuits short out. But these methods, they've worked for human hunters and warriors for thousands of years. As the search continued, Vex began to appreciate the ingenuity behind what he had initially dismissed as primitive techniques. By the end of their allotted 3 hours, the Sylphians had located only 7 of the 20 hidden operatives. 7 out of 20, Harper noted as they returned to the command post. Better than I expected, actually. You anticipated our failure, Vex stated, his skin patterns indicating he was processing this new perspective. Not failure, Commander. Learning. Tomorrow, if you're willing, we'll conduct the ultimate test. Ultimate test. Harper's expression grew serious. Finding Master Sergeant Winters, our ghost protocol instructor. The man who trained everyone you found today, and everyone you didn't. The ultimate test of silence. The morning broke cold and misty over the Montana wilderness. Commander Vex had spent much of the night analyzing yesterday's exercise, reviewing sensor data and reconsidering his assumptions about human capabilities. His species prided themselves on their stealth technology, cloaking devices that bent light around Sylphian vessels, sound-dampening fields that absorbed vibrations before they could propagate. Yet these humans, with nothing but mud, leaves, and extraordinary physical discipline, had achieved comparable results. Lieutenant Naira and Science Officer Krell joined him at the rendezvous point, their skin patterns suggesting they had undergone similar recalibrations of their expectations. I've modified our sensor array, Krell announced, his normally dismissive tone replaced with professional curiosity. Added sensitivity to detect minute temperature variations and microscopic movement patterns. If these humans are indeed controlling their physiological responses, as Major Harper claims, there should still be involuntary micro-movements we can detect. Vex nodded approval. Good. I've also requested permission from High Command to use our experimental quantum-level detection suite. It's designed to locate cloaked Drazeri assassins. Using military-grade technology against unaugmented humans seems excessive, Naira observed. Perhaps, Vex conceded. But I'm beginning to think we've underestimated these humans considerably. Major Harper arrived, accompanied by Captain Martinez, and a small support team carrying monitoring equipment. Good morning, Commander. Harper greeted them. Ready for today's challenge. You mentioned an ultimate test, finding your instructor, this Master Sergeant Winters. Harper nodded. Winters has been practicing wilderness concealment for over 30 years. He's vanished in combat zones across Earth, jungles, deserts, Arctic environments. Enemy forces with technology comparable to yours have failed to locate him even when they knew approximately where he was hiding. One human against our modified detection suite. Krell's skin flashed with confidence. The parameters seem unbalanced in our favor. Perhaps, Harper acknowledged with that same enigmatic smile. The search area today is only 1 square kilometer. Winters is already in position somewhere in this valley. You have 4 hours to find him. Vex surveyed the terrain, a small mountain valley with mixed forest coverage, a crystal-clear stream running through its center, and rocky outcroppings on both sides. Smaller than yesterday's search area, but varied enough to offer countless hiding places. We accept your challenge, Vex declared. The Sylphians moved with methodical precision through the valley, deploying their enhanced sensors in overlapping patterns to ensure complete coverage. Krell operated their new quantum detection equipment, which could theoretically identify individual atoms out of place in an environment. 2 hours passed with no success. This is beginning to strain credibility, Krell muttered, checking his equipment for malfunctions again. We've covered 60% of the search area at a resolution that should detect a hidden insect, let alone a full-sized human. Vex had to agree. They had examined every tree, rock formation, and stretch of ground with instruments that could detect a single degree of temperature difference or the slightest unnatural movement. Major Harper, Vex called through their communication link. We would like to verify that Master Sergeant Winters is actually present in the search area. Harper's voice came back immediately. He's there, Commander. I have continuous biometric confirmation of his presence. This was becoming a matter of professional pride now. Vex directed his team to focus on increasingly improbable hiding places, underwater, in treetops, even checking if the human might have buried himself completely. 3.5 hours into their search, with just 30 minutes remaining, Naira suddenly stiffened. Commander, I'm detecting unusual atmospheric disturbances approximately 200 meters northwest of our position, possibly indicative of a concealed breathing pattern. The team converged on the location, a small clearing bordered by dense pine trees and a jumble of weather-worn boulders. Their sensors indicated something, but nothing definitively human. I believe he may be using the rocks as both concealment and thermal insulation, Krell suggested, directing his quantum scanner at the boulder formation. Just then, their communications crackled to life with Harper's urgent voice. All personnel, exercise terminated. Immediate evacuation required. Forest fire reported approaching from the western ridge. Proceed to extraction point Alpha. This is not a drill. Vex could now smell smoke in the air, and his thermal sensors confirmed rapidly rising temperatures beyond the western edge of the valley. We must abort the search, he told his team, frustrated at the interruption but recognizing the danger. They made their way quickly to the extraction point, where human personnel were already loading equipment into vehicles. Major Harper was coordinating the evacuation, giving crisp orders to his subordinates. I apologize for the interruption, Commander, Harper said when he spotted the Sylphians. Safety protocols require immediate evacuation when wildfire threatens the training grounds. Understandable, Vex replied, though I regret not completing the challenge. Harper paused, then smiled. Who says you didn't get your chance? Before Vex could question this statement, Harper called out, Master Sergeant Winters, stand down. To the Sylphians' complete astonishment, Major Harper's aide, a human who had been standing next to Harper throughout the entire exercise, helping coordinate the evacuation, stepped forward and saluted. Master Sergeant Winters reporting, sir. Exercise complete. Vex's sensory membrane pulsed with shock. This human has been with us the entire time. Hiding in plain sight, Harper confirmed. Sometimes the best place to hide is right where no one would think to look. Vex studied the human called Winters more carefully now. Average height for the species, nondescript features, wearing the same standard uniform as other support personnel. There was absolutely nothing remarkable about him, which, Vex now realized, was precisely what made him remarkable. But our sensors, Krell began, clearly struggling to process this development. We're looking for someone hiding. Winters spoke for the first time, his voice surprisingly soft. Not someone standing in the open. You were searching for concealment techniques, unusual heat signatures, unnatural patterns. I simply became what you expected to see, just another human aid. The entire exercise was a misdirection, Vex realized, newfound respect evident in his skin patterns. Perception management, Winters corrected gently. The foundation of true stealth. Technology can be detected. Physical hiding places can be discovered. But manipulating the observer's expectations, that's how you become truly invisible. The evacuation continued around them as Vex contemplated the implications. His species had developed remarkable technology for concealment, yet these humans had developed something perhaps more valuable, an understanding of perception itself. 3 days later, aboard the Sylphian diplomatic vessel orbiting Earth, Commander Vex delivered his report to the High Command. Therefore, I recommend expanded cooperative exercises with human special forces units, with particular focus on their non-technological approaches to stealth and concealment, he concluded. This is unexpected. Fleet Admiral Zan's holographic projection flickered slightly. You believe these primitive techniques have military value to our forces. I believe, Admiral, that we have much to learn from humans about the fundamental principles of stealth. Their methods are simple but profound, complementary to our technological approaches, not inferior to them. After the transmission ended, Vex found Captain Martinez waiting in the ship's diplomatic lounge. "Your report has been delivered?" she asked. "Yes. My superiors were surprised by my recommendations." Martinez smiled, as were mine when Major Harper submitted his assessment. "He's requested permission to send selected instructors to train with your stealth units." Vex's skin rippled with patterns of agreement. A mutual exchange would be beneficial. Your species understands something fundamental about disappearing that technology alone cannot replicate. And your technology could enhance what we already do naturally, Martinez added. As they finalized the details of the exchange program, Vex found himself reflecting on the lesson he'd learned in the Montana wilderness. His species had spent generations developing ways to bend light, absorb sound, and mask heat, yet they had overlooked something far more basic that humans had understood for millennia. True invisibility began not with technology, but with understanding the mind of the observer. "Captain," Vex said suddenly, "I have one question that continues to trouble me." "Yes, Commander." "The forest fire that interrupted our exercise, was that also part of your demonstration?" Martinez's expression remained perfectly neutral. "What do you think, Commander?" Vex's skin flashed with patterns of admiration and amusement. The humans, it seemed, were still teaching him about misdirection.